So yeah, we're going to be going over the 12.2 update. I know we actually had a recent 12.3. We'll probably be talking about that next month. So if you get a chance to look at that. But yeah, I've got a growing team here, so I felt like it was a good opportunity for everybody to meet them. So throughout this presentation, you'll get to see the new features and the new team members. So I'm going to go ahead and start this off with these are the different sections that we're going to be covering. But we're going to kick it off with Rose, and she's going to go over center management topics. I've kind of broken them down into different areas. So we have like appointment updates and some advanced features, and then campus and help updates. So let me go ahead and transition that to Rose.
Hi everyone, I'm Rose. I'm with Accudemia Support, and today I'm going to be going over some of the center management updates and new features that we have. So we have a new adjustable auto refresh timeout setting. We have an immediate recipient limit warning on email campaigns. We have controlled walk-in settings, and we can now generate QR codes for our media items. All right, so for our first new feature for the adjustable auto refresh timeout, under administration control panel walk-ins and miscellaneous, there's going to be a setting at the very bottom where you can adjust the auto refresh timeout. This will allow you to display the time, or this will allow you to adjust the time that the display is active before pausing due to inactivity. So there were a few people who were complaining before if they had their screen up and there was no activity, it would pause or just not refresh. So this helps centers so that that screen doesn't go inactive. And if there's not as much activity, sometimes it can be beneficial to have like a 2-hour window before it does that auto refresh. And we have the interval set to 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 120 minutes. If you have a center that maybe has a little bit more activity, sometimes it's good to have like a 15-minute auto refresh just so you can see those live updates a little bit better. And then it just helps keep the data more up to date. And yeah, so if you guys want, I can go ahead and show where that is accessible. So we'd go to administration, control panel, and then right here under walk-in settings, and then we'll select our center. And then at the very, very, very bottom, it's going to be right here, auto refresh timeout. So you can adjust those and then save that setting. All right, next we have a new error message for recipients if you have a certain amount. So now if you try to send to over 500 recipients, there's going to be an error message right here that you cannot schedule because it'll exceed the maximum limit. And this is beneficial if you're sending to multiple courses that are larger. If you are sending to more than 500 people in multiple courses, it's probably a little bit more efficient to separate by course. Um, that will just help prevent any sort of errors or failed sends, um, as well as like preventing any delays that someone might have. So yeah, that'll be a message that will appear. And then this is also a new feature for our sign-in stations. Um, we have the option to enable in our control panel a setting that will allow us to view all of this information right here. So typically, right under here where it says default value, that would just be what would show up. All of the extra stuff on the left wouldn't be unless enabled. And the reason that you would want this enabled is if you have one center that has multiple kiosks that you would want to make a change to in the settings. So let's say that you have a center that has 10 kiosks and you want them all to reflect the same settings instead of individually changing them. So if you go ahead and enable that in the settings, then you can control if you want the subject area to show up for every single kiosk or the service or the staff or professor. And you can also, make those required if that's what you'd want for all of those kiosks. And if you don't want that enabled and you want the settings to be per kiosk and not all the same throughout, then you could have that disabled and it'll just have these default values. So I can go ahead and show you where that is as well. All right, so that would also be under administration, control panel, and then that would be same place, walk-ins. We'll go ahead and select our center. And that's also going to be at the bottom, miscellaneous, where the other setting was. And it's going to be right here, allow changing sign in station settings. So just by selecting that, we can look at our kiosk right here. And this is going to be where you can access it, is this little gear on top right here. And then you can disable or enable whatever you want, and that'll display throughout all those kiosks in that center. All right, and then next, we have generating QR codes for our media items. So this is a really beneficial feature if you have laptops, calculators, maybe cameras, or other sort of media that you're going to be renting out to students or like loaning to them. So it's pretty simple. We'll go ahead and um, we would go to centers, media checkout, and then media items right here. And then we would select these for example. And then in this upper right corner, we have print QR labels, accept, and then it'll download those QR codes for us. And then you can print that, cut them out, and put them on the media items. That way it's a simple process of just scanning it in and out. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and pass this over to Aaron.
Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. I'm going to be going over updates to the appointments and daily viewer. So the daily viewer has gotten a clearer and faster interface. It's going to be more similar to spreadsheets like Excel now. To access the daily viewer, you can go under Centers, Appointments, and then click Daily Viewer. And then you have to apply filters for your specific center. And you'll be able to see all of your tutors or staff, the days and times that they're available. And then by hovering over these numbers, which represent appointments, you can see any appointments which people have made. You know, this one shows 3 because we have 3 students all checking in for an appointment with the same tutor. Those are the main updates. This is just going to improve efficiency, and it's a bit more of an organized layout. Next is the appointments wizard. So changes are going to include easier time slot selection and a redesigned time slots. So to access this, you can go from anywhere from your home page. You can click on the quick drop down and then click new appointment. And so in here, you'll be able to select a student, then a center. Then you can select what service, term, and then this pick a slot screen has been redesigned to make it a little bit easier and more understandable. You can see time slots for all these different tutors on a specific day. You can set your duration, and it's, I think, a lot easier to navigate now. The final update that I'll be going over for appointments is the updated appointment override warning. This, when an appointment is being scheduled by an admin, which can be done by clicking on the quick drop down and clicking new appointment admin, is going to have much clearer warnings now if something's being violated, like if another tutor has an appointment at a specific time. So you're going to have a much easier time understanding the warnings and any errors you might have. And if you decide you want to, you're able to ignore warning and save. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Nick.
Just trying to share. So yeah, we're going to be going over some advanced feature updates in that update last month. So we've improved some things with the student engagement tracker page, as well as regarding events and the support Dropbox and referrals. So we're going to go over those and see what those are. These are all things that are related to the campus section. So you'll notice like when we go in there, it's going to be under campus. And for instance, this first one is student engagement tracker. So if you're not familiar with engagement tracker, this is where you can pull up a lot of information about a student, kind of see the general breakdown of what they've been up to, whether they have scheduled appointments, what classes they're enrolled in, and the recent visit history. And you can see that for all the centers that you have access to. So just a really like an info dump for your students' information. The 2 improvements were one when you search for a student, instead of just having a blank screen. If I hit enter after naturally when I type their name, I might, hit enter to to pull it up. It's just gonna, instead of doing that, just give you the list like it normally would, um, of students that it could match. The other thing is on the student profile, when you had them pulled up, if you hit enter, it would actually just pull up the edit student screen, so that's not going to happen any longer. So basically some minor improvements though that should make a major change for you guys when you're using this system. So the next thing we did is we updated the event screen. Like if you see in my screenshot, I have like one workshop, so it might not be that hard to see this. But if you're like Marie and others, I'm sure that have several workshops throughout the semester, it might be easier to find those workshops by being able to search by the event name or even the presenter. So we have that in the search now, and also just viewing them by dates. Like maybe they're ones that you repeat over and over. So you can now sort by the date and search on the event names. So that's really cool. And again, that's under campus event registration. So you'll see that there. All right, and the next thing is actually regarding the support Dropbox. Now this is also under campus. We have the support Dropbox there. And this is if you offer asynchronous tutoring. So if that's something though that your center doesn't do, then you can basically opt out of this feature now. And you would do that in the administration control panel and look for the Dropbox section. Once you select the center that you're with, in this case on the screen we have it like advising, maybe they didn't want to do this, they don't have people dropping off things like papers or whatever to review, so they go ahead and check that to disable it from their center. And then that way, only the participating centers. I think we had some tickets that came in, and there was like a math center that didn't know that they had somebody drop off a paper, and they didn't really want to participate. So this is a good thing that we added to update and enhance that feature. All right, and then the final thing that I want to go over from the campus section is under referrals. And if you're not familiar with this, basically an instructor in Accudemia can go ahead and send over a student. Maybe they're having trouble with grades, maybe it's attendance, whatever the case may be. But each center will create a referral form for that instructor to fill out. And typically in the name of it, they're just going to say like what kind of referral they're doing. So like in this one, I have tutoring request form. And this just allows them to kind of answer questions based on that. One of the issues that we had is when they went to pick their class, they were seeing every class in the entire semester. So rather than doing that, we actually now improve this to where it's just those that they're registered to for that current semester. So this is going to be a lot easier for instructors. And I know it's hard to get buy-in with the instructors sometimes because they're doing so much already. But this will just maybe make it a little bit easier for those instructors to refer students over to your center.
Yeah,
So
I'm especially excited about this one.
yeah. And then after that, I think I have Miguel coming up to do his part. Thanks, y'all.
Hey everybody. All right. Hey everybody, Miguel here. So just continuing from what Nick said, we're going to continue going over some new features in Accudemia. We're going over campus setup and some help updates. Some of the things we're going to cover are that you can now show subject areas by default on the subject areas page. We're going to go over how to train Wiggins on your center's info. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the new tips and the upcoming 2027 EACS conference. So for the active subject areas, we now have the subject areas will now display active subject areas by default. This makes sure that the correct versions are used when working with courses for appointments and for walk-ins. And you can see on the left picture that you can also use these filters for active and inactive subject areas. Moving on to Wiggins, a lot of you have asked a lot about Wiggins, and Wiggins, just to go over that really quick, is our internal AI system. And Wiggins is really cool because unlike some other AI, it doesn't pull directly from the internet, and it will only pull from the documents you upload and from academia documentation. So it only pulls from your center, so you don't have to worry about it pulling stuff from the internet. Wiggins, when you upload documents, it can provide instant center specific questions to students and staff using the help button. You can upload a knowledge-based document so Wiggins can learn how your center operates. So you can upload stuff like services, hours, policies, and FAQs. And again, just how it works, it only will pull from the document and generate answers based on that document. So let's say you want to upload who runs the center. You can upload a document, say Dr. Johnson runs the Academic Success Center. And when someone asks who runs the Academic Success Center, it will tell you Dr. Johnson runs it. So it only pulls specifically from those documents. And lastly, we've actually added a lot of academic tips for academia. We've almost doubled the amount of tips and fun facts. We've also included some information about our academic center summit. This is really cool. You're not going to want to miss it. This is more than a conference. It's a chance to connect with other professionals in the industry from across the country, and you can gain some strategies to use and that you can apply at your center and learn directly from some of the experts and peers leading this innovation in student success.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel.
Thank you,
I think
Sam.
we are good to go ahead and start the Q&A session. I am seeing a question, and this is a good question for our support folks. This is from Danny. If you use the kiosk to track, and we're talking about kiosk to track events, is there a connection between those that registered and those that attended the event? So I think she wants a little more clarity on the connection there.
Yeah, there's two different sections. So here, do you mind if I share my screen for a minute? So I have this time management workshop. So when you go and you click on the title, you can see who registered as well as who attended. And if the event hasn't come yet, then this is not going to be, but you can download or add people manually as well to either the registration or the attendee there. But um, but yeah, it's going to be basically two different things. And this is one report that you have to get from this screen. It won't be in your normal reports because these are treated differently for that.
All right, and then if anyone else has any other questions, you can feel free to put that in the questions box. Oh, and Danny has a follow-up for that, Nick, just so they don't enter in the session logs. That's, I know, is correct. We wanted them to be in like a separate spot, precisely because it's a different kind of tracking. It's not everyday session tracking. All right, and then so we do have another question. When a student attends an appointment, does the system create an automatic sign in and out for the appointment duration, or does our staff need to sign them out? So if we're talking about the appointments that are made regularly, that are made in academia through the appointments module, that would depend on the settings of your center. You can set it to auto sign out, but the automatic sign in is definitely not going to happen. You want, the whole point of the appointment tracking is tracking which students actually showed up for their appointment. So they sign in at the kiosk just like a walk-in student does, except if they have an appointment, the system knows that they are there for an appointment and will ask them to confirm that. That way they don't have to enter in all the stuff. Again, they don't have to enter their class, their service, all that stuff. If you have auto sign out enabled, then it can auto sign them out after a period that you specify for your center, or they can sign out at the kiosk. And signing out is actually easier than signing in because all they do is enter their ID number again, and it signs them right out. How do you enable auto sign out? So that is in the control panel. Nick, can you refresh my memory of the exact path?
Yeah, so the it's in the general settings under your control panel. So if you go here, let me pull that up under administration control panel and the general settings. Basically, I would choose my center so that it, because these are specific to a center. So this is the one I use all the time. So I'm going to use that. And if we get, um, I think it's in miscellaneous. This is the automatic sign out settings. Is that what we were saying? Or was this from
Yeah,
an
when does it?
appointment?
No, well, it would be auto sign out for any visit. So
Oh, okay. Yeah,
there
this
wouldn't
would be
be a
for
separate
any.
one for appointments.
Yeah, the only thing I will say with appointments, so this one is if they stay in this amount of minutes that they're given maybe a lesser time, you can have this blank and then they would just get signed out when they reach this.
Hmm.
One of the things that you can do with appointments though, if we go to appointments and look at the same, center specific settings, when you set up as part of the restrictions here, whether to count it toward the visit as a show, if you don't use this, it will actually give them a sign out at the end of that session.
Hmm.
Because this says that they have to stay signed in for a certain number of minutes, and so
Yeah,
therefore it requires a sign out. Whereas if I don't use that, then it's going to assume they stayed for the length of the appointment. So I can
yeah,
kind of use that as a way to auto sign out. Yeah.
right. And then another question we have is, can staff also sign students in for their appointments instead of using the kiosk? And the answer to that is yes. You can give staff the ability to create a sign-in station. They can also manually create session logs, although I do not recommend that method. It tends
Hmm.
to mess with whether or not the student is marked as present for their
Right.
appointment. But I do
It's
have a
best
lot
to
of.
go through the kiosk, but
It is
there
best to
is
go
a
through the
way.
kiosk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say I have a lot of academia users who operate on like a decentralized sort of model. So their tutors are meeting with students all over campus. So it doesn't make sense for them to have like a designated kiosk because there's no central location. So what they've done is they give tutors the ability to open a quick sign-in station that takes up half the screen, much like the window that Nick has opened there. They enter the student's ID number. I recommend that the session log manually because like I said, it won't it tends to not mark the student as present depending on when the session log is created, um, which can mess with like they can get a no-show notification, which will confuse them because as far as they're concerned they met with student, and it's much easier to just sign them in at the kiosk because it'll recognize that they have the appointment in the system and just fill in all that stuff for them instead of you having to manually fill in all the fields in the session log.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say is you can give tutors the ability to edit their presence now.
Hmm.
And so instead of going to the session log and creating it directly, if you edit the presence, this is used to be only an admin function. Um, Basically, let's say this was a no-show and I wanted to make it a show. Okay, it's in the future. So, but if you go through this process where you actually mark them as a show, then you're basically like heading it off at the pass or whatever the
Hmm.
saying is,
It's
because you're
really best
saying
to
like,
just do it from a
yeah,
kiosk,
right,
even if it's the kiosk is on the staff member's computer. uh, I creating session logs manually is kind of a not like it's a thing that we have like users have to be able to do, the admin users, but it's not the default way you should be that most people should be doing things, and from what I've seen. Any other questions? Oh, I just see a quick question from Danny. Is there a way to allow tutors to see their own sign-ins without allowing them to edit the tutor session logs? They can pull reports on that, so they should be able to just pull reports. So we'll email you about that separately, Danny. Don't worry about that. All right. Well, I do want to remind everybody to please take that survey if you have a minute. That is really going to help us out with making sure that that the next update to Accudemia, the next few updates to Accudemia, in the future are going to be relevant for you all. So if you have a minute to take that, I have pasted that link. We have pasted that link in the chat. All right. Thank you everybody for your time today, and you have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.